In this video, we will start our discussion about abstract classes and Java interfaces. So after completing this module, you should be able to explain and utilize abstract classes, explain and utilize abstract methods, explain and utilize Java interfaces, and finally use the final modifier with classes and methods. And we'll see what's the effect of that modifier on classes, methods, and variables. Now, before talking about abstract classes, what we have seen so far are all what we call concrete classes, which will allow object instantiation. In other words, you can create an object out of a concrete class. So if I have a class that's called student, I can create an object of type student, and so on. Abstract classes, on the other hand, will not allow object instantiation. So why do we need them then? Why would I have a class that's not going to allow me to create an object? There are many uses for abstract classes. One of them is, in some cases, you don't want that class to be instantiated. For example, if I have a structure which is consisting of person, and then the person is either a student or an employee is either a manager or just an employee, I may not want to allow having somebody in my system which is just a person. I need it to be more specialized. Now, this is one thing. Another use of abstract classes is to enforce standards. Now, as we will see through examples, abstract classes can force any class that inherits them to implement certain things. So you will enforce some standard, some skeleton that every class that's inheriting that abstract class should have. Now recall this employee example. So now in this specific example, I can create three types of objects: employee object, full-time employee object, part-time employee object. If we want to prevent instantiating just an employee, so I want my system to only be able to instantiate a full-time employee, part-time employee. This is what my application will be capable of. I don't want anything that's just called employee. We need to make employee class an abstract class. And this is achieved by just using the keyword abstract. Now in UML, you are going to use italic font to represent abstract classes as we see in the employee class in this figure. But then in Java, we will use the keyword abstract, and I included the general syntax for that. And you'll start with the access level, and then you'll say abstract class, and then you follow it with the class name as usual, and then you just write your method's body. Now, let's see how we can create an abstract class, and then we will talk about abstract methods. So let me go to Eclipse, and I have a project here which is empty for now. So let me create a structure. So I want a structure that is starting with vehicle, which is going to be my top class in this case. I'll just leave it like this. I'll not make it abstract for now, and we will make it abstract later to see how that's going to affect our application. Now, private or protected, you can just have any encapsulation level. So private string make, and then let's have another string. So any vehicle is going to have make and model. And let me create a constructor for this class, public vehicle, and I will just make it a parameterized constructor. So make, and another string for model, and then what I need to do is this dot make is equal to make, and this dot model is equal to model. Now this is my constructor, and now let me create, let me create another class. And we'll not create more methods in this, we'll create methods later on. A possible thing that can extend vehicle is a car, so let's create a car class. So car, and this is going to extend vehicle, and now I need to add the constructor. A shortcut for that is just to do this. And for the car, let's add something here, which is a like the year of the car. So private integer here, and let me add it to my constructor here. And instead of this, I'll say this dot here is equal to here. Again, this is my constructor for here. Let me just save this. Now for the car, let's just create a driver class. New class. And then driver, we'll have a main method for that. And let me go ahead and try to create a vehicle. So vehicle v is equal to new vehicle, and remember it takes make and year, so whatever v1 and then m1, so v1 is the make, and then m1 the vehicle manufacturer, and then the model. And for the other one, car c is equal to new car, and for that let's have for example BMW, and then any model like 5 series, and then it's going to ask for the year, so 2010. Now so far so good. I was able to create objects, everything is working just fine. Now if I want to prevent this line from compiling, I will come here and say public abstract class vehicle. The moment I save this, an error will pop in here, and if we click there, it says cannot instantiate the type vehicle. So we achieved one thing, which is preventing the instantiation of objects because the class is an abstract class. Now this is one of the benefits of abstract classes. Now the other thing is to enforce some sort of standards, and for that what I meant is you will force some methods to be available in any class that implements or that extends this abstract class. So we will need what we call an abstract method, and an abstract method is a method that will not have any implementation. So an abstract class can have attributes and methods can be abstract, but not all of them. So you can have implemented methods and you can have abstract methods. Now the difference between implemented methods and abstract methods is that, so if you have an implemented method, whatever class that inherits your class is going to inherit that method, and you can use that method right away and can override that method if you would like to do so in that class. An abstract method, however, will force the subclass to provide an implementation for those methods. It will not give you an implementation and will force you to have some implementation for that method. Now the general syntax is access level, public or private. Usually it's going to be public because you're going to allow everybody to use it. So public and then abstract, and then you will just write your method. After writing your method, after the parentheses, you will not have any implementation, you will not have any curly braces. You will end this with a semicolon. And in UML, we'll use italic face font for abstract methods. So let's see how that's going to affect our code. Now for vehicle, for any vehicle that I have, I want to be able to drive it. So I'll say public void drive. Now this is just a regular method. Now if I want to make it abstract, I will do this. So I'll say public abstract void drive. Now see, the moment I save this, what's gonna pop up in car? I have an error in car. And if you come here, if you click this, it says the type car must implement the inherited abstract method vehicle.drive. So this says you will have to specify an implementation for that. You can click this and it will write the line for you, and you can just write the line for yourself. You don't need this override. So you can just have a drive method here, and you can say something like system.out.println, and then in here driving the, and then plus make. Now this is not gonna allow me to do so because this is private, so let me make it protected. It's gonna be easier for me instead of creating setters, getters for those. So protected in here. So plus make, and now this should have no problem. And then let me have a space between those. So a space here, and then plus model. Now if I go here, everything is working fine, and I can say c.drive. I can save this, I can run it, everything is fine, and here we go. Now again, we said you don't have to have all of them as abstract methods. You can say this, for example, public void and then info, and for the info what we want to do is system.out.println something like make, and then plus make, and then again a print line model plus model. Now I can come here in the driver and I can just use that because I'm inheriting that thing or that method from the abstract class that I'm inheriting, so I don't have to provide any implementation. Can I override it? Yes, I can. I can go ahead and say public void info, and then in that I will just do this super.info, and I will add the year, so something like year, and then plus year. And now I have the year in here. Now just to recap, when you create a class as an abstract class, this is going to prevent instantiation, so you cannot create any object from that class, and you can have abstract methods and you can have fully implemented methods in that class. Now if we have an abstract method and we have a class that's implementing this abstract class, then that child or that subclass will have to implement or provide an implementation for the method. And we can have methods that are not abstract The subclasses or child classes do not have to provide any implementation because it's fully implemented. They can override it if they want to.